Tompkins, here is Rees Zammit. Rees Zammit, that chip into the in-goal area as he got the pace to get there before the Fijian can! It is Rees Lightning!
Right, so there's been a bit of news in the rugby world. I don't know whether you call it a bombshell, maybe you might if you're Welsh, but certainly, yeah, it is. It's certainly come out of nowhere, and it's a bit, it's a bit more left field. The news is that Welsh rugby player Louis Rees Zammit has decided to quit rugby with immediate effect, and he will be looking to join the NFL international player pathway. In short, he's left rugby to try and see if he can make it into the NFL. And there's there's been a couple of bits that have come out since. Of course, the news came out overnight in New Zealand time. We've had Egg Chasers come out with a video. Mate Max Sharp at Black Jersey. It's Black Jersey Analytics, I can't remember, he's just renamed it recently, but he's also come out with a little bit of a video about it. And talking more from the rugby perspectives, but look, I'm a rugby fan, and but I'm also an NFL fan, and I know NFL gets a lot of grief from rugby. You know, it's like, oh, they're playing with pads and helmets, it's softer because of that and that sort of thing, which is total rubbish. But I thought, yeah, look, we'll talk about this move sort of more from an NFL perspective. So, but I guess we need to talk, who is this guy? So Louis Rees Zammit, look, I think even majority rugby fans who don't really go deep dive, don't watch the United Rugby Championship, they might just, particularly in New Zealand, they might just watch Super Rugby, NPC, the All Blacks. Louis Rees Zammit is probably a name that doesn't quite register, with them. But look, he's certainly deemed as one of the stars as one of these stars in the Northern Hemisphere rugby. He's born 2nd February 2001, and he's currently plays with Gloucester in the English Premiership, and made his debut for Wales in 2020. He's got 31 caps. He's scored 70 points. You can work out tries, 5 points each, so you can work that out with simple arithmetic. He's scored 14 tries. He's also been with the British and Irish Lions, but hasn't made an appearance. Was in the Welsh Rugby World Cup squad, but didn't really feature there. He's had a few injury concerns from memory. There's also been a bit of a thing between him and current Welsh rugby coach Warren Gatland. Obviously his style, he's sort of been almost deemed surplus to requirements to a certain extent. And so there has been a bit of talk about Louis Rees Zammit. There's been a bit of falling out between Welsh rugby and Louis, and this is as we get to this point now where Louis has decided he's had enough of Welsh rugby. He's quitting immediately. He's not even going to be, the Six Nations of course kicks in just over a fortnight, and he's not even going to, he's decided to pull out with immediate effect. So certainly, look, I'm not going to talk about the chaos that's, engulfed Welsh rugby for the last couple of years, because I guess it's, there's lots of videos covering that. But I thought want to talk about the, I guess what Louis is going to be facing up. And maybe talking about his skills and attributes. I guess we talk about, so obviously, height wise, he's 6'3" or 1.91 meters in the New World. Weighs 88 kilograms, 194 pounds, so he's slightly, I think I'd put it out there. Look, he's got the height, but he's sort of in the average bracket, but I think weight wise, he's gonna need to put on a bit more weight. Look, I know he's a back, but in the NFL, you see your guys like in the past, Adrian Peterson, James Cook, Justin Jefferson. Look at Josh Allen. He's a unit. They're over at least 300. Look, you're looking at least 100 kilograms minimum. So he's certainly gonna have to pack in 12 kilograms. And fortunately, he does have time. There's ways to get around that. Maybe you might want to talk with Francois Stay on how he bulked up, because he certainly was a scrawny little thing when he first made his debut 20 years ago in rugby. But yeah, so Louis Rees Zammit is going to bulk up. But I guess that's the other thing, Look, Louis is no. Having watched a bit of Louis through the highlights, I think his most prized asset is his pace. He's got unbelievable pace, wing fullback, and looks like, I guess, so, and so that, I guess, if we were taking him player on that, or, if you're taking, if you were to take Louis as he is right now, that is his biggest attribute. I guess the concern is he's going to pack the 12 kilograms, he's going to pack more weight. Is that going to take away his pace? Look, only time will tell. We shall have to see. Look, I mean, just because you put on weight doesn't mean you're going to lose that pace. But it does, it is logical. It is logical that he will not be the speedster that he is in Welsh rugby right now. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the critical thing is ability under the high ball. Look, I mean, obviously rugby is a sport where everything happens with back passes and all that. So that's going to be the biggest step. I mean, they do use back passes, but that's when the team's like one score down, and there's 0 minutes on the clock, they're gonna try and do laterals, which so that's like 1% of that's like less than 1% of NFL plays. Unless you're an NFL coach and have sort of like have a bit of a death wish. So look, Louis Rees Zammit, look, I guess modern wingers, fullbacks now have to be very good under the high ball. It happens. It's a good probably 10, 15 years since that, you've moved on from your wingers like Joe Olomu, Joe Rokosoko, where, you don't have to be good under the high ball. So, so I think that would stand him up even then, but we're not, I guess still, we're not talking about bombs and all that we see in rugby. We're talking about a pass from your quarterback, which is going to be horizontal-ish, and, it's going to have an arc rather than a, up and down arc. So that is something that Louis Rees Zammit is going to have to adjust to. I think what will happen, we shall just have to see. Look, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think, we could very well see him in the preseason as early as, 2024 preseason. Remains to be seen. I mean, he's got plenty of time to get in there. He's already a professional athlete, and so I think you'd see like someone like Jarryd Hayne or Valentine Holmes. They got him pretty quick. And so only time will tell. We'll see what. I mean, I think I'd expect at first maybe special teams. He might very well be a punt kick returner to start off with, and then as time proceeds, see how he is with catching balls from his quarterback. Maybe he might evolve into a wide receiver. Certainly not a running back. He's too small, far too small to be playing as a running back as it stands right now. But we shall see. I mean, unfortunately, we're past that Patriots era where you have pocket-sized running backs like your Danny Woodheads, Damian Harris, that sort of thing. But yeah, you never know. I mean, only time will tell. So yes, and I did sort of mention quickly about Jarryd Hayne, Valentine Holmes, both NRL stars who had tried to make it in the NFL. Jarryd Hayne's probably the one who's been the most successful by comparison. He's he did have a bit of a spell with the 49ers, and although I think there is a bit of got a bit to take on context. It's 49ers when the Jarryd Hayne arrived was an absolute mess. Kaepernick was really starting on his sort of exile from the club. That already just gotten rid of John Harbaugh. That they'd lost a lot of players, and Hayne was kind of taken as a punt. And look, he did okay. He had a couple of efforts that made the highlight reels, but ultimately it didn't quite work out, and he returned to the Eels. And let's not go into the off-scene story. Valentine Holmes is the most recent high-profile NRL star to try his hand in an NFL. He got a bit of trouble with the Jets, but ultimately got let go, and he's now back with the Cowboys. So what am I saying? Yeah, in short, it's it hasn't, in terms of players going from rugby union league to NFL. It's not a great record at this time. I know. Look, yeah, you're talking about your other players. Who have joined the NFL international player pathway. You've got Christian Wade. He did try running back at the Buffalo Bills, but hasn't been heard of. Obviously, he's gone. That didn't work out. We've had a couple of a couple of footballers from Nigeria, because NFL international player pathway that has started investing in Africa, particularly Nigeria. I think we had a couple of Aussie rules footballers as well. We've seen a couple who have made that transition. They've become punters, kickers. And then of course, the biggest name, of course, John Mailata, who has had a really, I think, I don't know if you can argue if his NRL career was, he didn't play first grade. He was in the under-20s at the Bunnies, but he's pretty much, he did play for the Bulldogs. But he's pretty much now, I say, established as an NFL player. And I think that the point is that he's spent a lot of time. He's gone through actually the proper channel system, and he's done that transition to NFL. So yeah, I mean, you could argue he's probably rugby league's most famous, successful convert to the NFL. But again, yeah, I argue that, look, he's pretty much now he's pretty much gone into the NFL system, and good on him. He made a Super Bowl, and I think John Mailata has done really, really well. And I think, but the other point, I guess, he does have that body set to as a prop, and he's now a tackle. So yeah, so I think Mailata had the attributes to be successful in the NFL. But yeah, look, I think that the one thing we've got to address is, why has Louis gone and done this? I think the biggest thing is financially. Look, if Louis was to succeed in the NFL, the financial rewards would be huge. Even if it was just to make the special teams team play a season, the money they get in the NFL just dwarfs anything, even the top contracts in France, or in the French top 14, or where he's playing at Gloucester in the Premiership. That's pretty high, and you can understand why these rugby league, rugby union players, you will actually start to see more of them actually going to try their hand in the NFL. I mean, you had even All Blacks great Dan Carter actually trying out with the Dallas Cowboys, but nothing came about. And personally, I think that would have been a waste of his talent and time. I mean, it does. Or as rugby fans have always, in this part of the world, have always had this kind of like fantasy. What if someone like Mark Talia, who I think would be a brilliant fit for the NFL if he wanted to. But look, there's a lot of financial rewards if they make it well. You could easily. I mean, they're not going to set themselves up for the rest of their lives by just playing one season and all that. But I think they certainly can earn a bit more than they would if they, playing certainly more than they would Super Rugby or French Rugby or Japanese Rugby. So that's why there is some financial incentive there. And there's a lot of talk. Welsh rugby players are, with the unions, the fees and all that. So I think that it does there's a systemic problem with Welsh rugby at the moment, which, as I said, I'm not going to go into, and you can understand why Louis is going to do that. So all I can say is, wish Louis all the best, and it'll be very intriguing to see what it goes, but the challenge is huge. I think rugby players don't actually realize until they go there how different the games have become. Rugby, a lot of rugby fans have kind of, you can understand why the poo-poo jokes have come with NFL. The game is completely different. It's more stop and start. It's more rigid, particularly in the NFL, compared to rugby, which is more free-flowing, instinctual. NFL, you've got playbooks, Josh Allen having all the plays and all that on his wrist. It's more rigid. There's a lot of things to learn about. So that is a big challenge for Louis to transition to, or for any other rugby league, rugby union to play. But I think if he did well, that'd be great. I don't know whether Louis played gridiron before. I imagine he's with his age, he certainly would have been old. They've had NFL International Series at Wembley, Twickenham. He would have gone to a couple of those games. I imagine he's an NFL. He must be an NFL fan. He must surely know what he's going into, and so. I'll be interested in see how that turns out. And my prediction is he might have a couple. I think if you're all going in line with what has happened with Valentine Holmes, Jared Hayne, I think he had one or two couple of good seasons. Maybe 1 year at 1 year at best, and then he goes back to rugby. But he's still 22, and his rugby career is certainly far from being ever over. So that's my thoughts coming from an NFL perspective on Louis Rees Zammit's move to the NFL. But I'd like to know what you think. Will Louis Rees Zammit make it in the NFL? What did you see him playing if he does make it? And I think, are there any other issues? And who else do you think would? Which are any other players from rugby, any All Blacks, NRL players who could make the move to the NFL? If you like this video, feel free to like, and don't forget to subscribe.